Hello, everyone, and thank you for your interest in joining our workshop. Welcome to our first Data Science with Wildfire Prediction workshop. And if you haven't already, can you put your school and your grade into the chat? All right, so first we will introduce ourselves before we talk about the science behind wildfires, and then at the end, we will have a Kahoot to test everything you've learned. And before we start, here's a little introduction about us. We are a certified 501c3 nonprofit with over 2,200 followers on Instagram. And we have a team of about 15 high schoolers in the Bay Area with a mission to spread awareness on various impacts of wildfires in the environment and economy. We also want to prepare the community for anything wildfire related. I'm Arna, and I'm the event leader at WAY.
I'm Naranjana, and I'm the founder.
I'm Madeline, and I'm the head of research.
I'm Lauren, and I'm the co-founder.
Okay, so moving forward, some of our accomplishments include presenting for Boy Scouts about camping trips, collaborating with our school's environmental club, and collaborating on a STEM convention. And of course, working with the local fire department on disaster kits and webinars, and presenting at city events such as the Public Safety Commission Forum both this year and last year. Additionally, we organized a fundraiser through Panda Express, recorded a podcast, and worked with the CUSDK 8 schools previously by sending out flyers and making fun Kahoots for teachers to host.
So now we ask the question, what is data science? I'm sure we've heard a lot about it. Please type in the chat what you think it is. All right, I'm just going to give a couple more seconds if anyone wants to finish up their description of what they think data science is. All right, that's okay, I can explain it to you. So first, what is data science? Data science is used to find meaning in data. In other words, it's the study where we analyze large amounts of data collected and try to find patterns and understand what they mean. For example, in wildfire prediction, we collected from previous wildfire weather conditions and we're trying to find patterns as to what weather conditions caused the wildfires. So, how do we go about starting a project like this? And what are some prerequisites we might look at? First, we have to go about choosing a data set. That means finding data on the internet that is accessible and has relevant features that contribute to the data. For example, a feature about house sizes would have no relevance to a data set about weather conditions and would therefore need to be removed. Then we need to determine the size of the data that we want. Having a large data set isn't always best because it could take more time to classify and analyze. But at the same time, having a small data set is poor since we won't be able to find general patterns or trends. We have to choose the one that would be most beneficial to our project. Then we have to decide on what we want to gain from the data. What are we using the data to predict? And finally, now that we have chosen the features, the size of our data set, and then we have to clean the data and make sure all of it is uniform and relevant before finally looking into methods by which to separate and classify said data for it to be able to be analyzed. Let's look at some example data sets. Now, let's take a look at data set 1. So the purpose of the data set is to predict weather. The size of the data set is 10 figures, and the features include the number of houses, the amount of daylight, and the temperature. So based on the fact that we're trying to predict weather, could we type into the chat some problems with this first data set? That's good input, Anya. Yeah, the size is really small. With only 10 points, how are we going to find proper trends within our data? That's a great input. Another issue that we have, yeah, okay, no more input. So another issue that we have is the feature about the number of houses has really no connection or correlation with the weather. This would be an irrelevant feature that we don't want in our data. Now, let's look at data set 2. So we're trying to predict wildfires. Our size is 1,000, and we're looking at the name of the wildfire and the number of the acres burned. So a question, which of the two features is not as useful for this purpose? All right, so I don't want to say your name wrong, but I think it's Varia. And yeah, you're right. So the name of the wildfire really has nothing to do with predicting its size or its damage. So great input.
Now let's talk about how we can create visualizations of the data to analyze. In Python, there are many open source libraries that already provide methods for visualizing the data. Yay! We don't have to code them ourselves. The basic ones we will skim over today are Pandas, Seaborn, and Matplotlib. Together, they provide methods for converting our data files into clean tables and graphing them to visualize trends and patterns. To visualize a dataset, we have to choose the best graph that will work with our data. Scatter plots are best for plotting individual points of data so we can see where the general data points lie and make a trend line or determine a pattern from there. Histograms are best when we are grouping data together in bins. For example, we are grouping the data points that have ages in each 20-year range as one bin. This can simplify the data when there is a wide range of data points. Box plots can be used to find the median of the dataset and the range of the data. It's best for when a feature has only a few values and usually is a categorical feature. It's best for finding the spread of the data. Now that we have a dataset, can we visualize the data? How do we go about analyzing it? First, we analyze the features and observe the mean, mode, and standard deviation for each feature. Then we look at how each feature correlates with each other. For example, in our wildfire dataset, we would look at how the amount of fuel in an area correlates to the temperature of that area and see if there's a pattern there. And finally, we would use machine learning to classify the data into its important feature subsets. We won't be getting into that today since it's a bit advanced, but this is what we could do in the future. Before we move on into working on our own projects with wildfire prediction data, let's have a quick Kahoot.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen for the Yeah, sorry, we're muted. So we're having slight technical difficulties with sharing screens, but we're working on it. While we're waiting, could everyone type into the chat whether they prefer dogs or cats? All right, so the Kahoot should be up. The code is 2940650. So you just go to kahoot.it. Yay, we have a person. In my opinion, cats are superior, but dogs are pretty good too. All right, has everyone joined? Is there anyone who still needs to join? If you do, could you just type in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and talk aloud. All right, so I heard that we're waiting on one more person, and then we're going to get started.